Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Profit with a Plan podcast. This is where you can get some great ideas to create your most profitable small business. Just so you know, financial planning isn't only for those that have a lot of money or run really big companies. A workable financial plan is for us everyday small business owners and professionals that want to make good financial decisions that lead to bigger profits. So join me, Marcia Reiner, your certified financial planner and financial business strategist, each Tuesday for some smart ideas that can add more profits to your bottom line. I am passionate about working with small business owners who are working their ass off every day. They're making great money, but they don't have a lot to show for it. I help them fix their cash flow fast so that they can increase their profits, build their wealth without sabotaging their business too. They know they can grow a sustainable business so that they can sell it for a lot more later on. If this sounds familiar to you or you know anybody that might be curious, please share this podcast with them. Or if you want, let's chat. You can always book a brief call with me and get on my scheduler. It's calendly.com/Marcia-16. As I always say, there must be 16 of us. So today's podcast, we are talking to a dear friend of mine, Miss Wendy Barr. She is the CEO and creative director for BARRCODE Branding. It's a full-service design agency that focuses on bringing big business brand strategies to the small business owner like you. Wendy will talk with us about how to make a few simple changes in our branding and branded marketing material that can help us business owners be perceived as more credible, relevant, and compelling. While branding is not simply your logo, it's the most important piece of any brand and should never be an afterthought. So Wendy, thanks for coming on Profit with a Plan. As you know, my listeners are business owners and entrepreneurs. We welcome you.
Thanks, Marcia. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad. Wendy and I met, maybe a year or so ago. We kept sitting at the same table at eWomen Network here in Orange County, and we just kept being drawn to each other. And Wendy has such great ideas. I just couldn't wait to get her on and share her with the rest of you guys.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. So we are talking about branding. So why, you mentioned that branding in your bio was so important, but why is it really so important, even to us small business owners?
Well, I think that, and the reason why we say we bring big business brand strategy to the small business owner so that they can compete effectively is it is a perfect example of taking big brands, for example. Look at the Coca-Colas and the Kleenexes of the world, and then ask yourself how you become a household name, right? And it's always via branding. And branding is not just a logo, and like you mentioned, it is the most important part of any brand. But there are so many other parts and pieces that go along with that. Your messaging, your brand archetyping, your programs, products, and services, they're all have to be on brand. So it's a real comprehensive term, branding.
So describe that a little bit more. When we think of branding, such as Coca-Cola or Kleenex, we're thinking of an image that they have. But how does that translate over to a small business, maybe a dentist or a chiropractor or even a consultant? How would one of those types of businesses really benefit from branding?
Well, think about brand recognition. And think about what professional branding looks like, right? It gives you that credibility. It looks like, oh, this person is a professional. Clearly, they're experienced. It looks to me like they're credible. They probably are high-end. They probably have a following. Certainly, they have an education or a certification because they cared enough to create a professional brand for themselves. A DIY brand, and I say this all the time when I'm speaking in public, a DIY brand is like wearing a trash bag and dirty sneakers to an important business meeting, like not caring enough to dress for success. And that's what branding really is.
So do you think that people will make a purchase decision based on the brand that they're looking at?
Absolutely. Don't you? I mean, when you're in the grocery store, for example, and you're looking at a certain product that you might want to buy and you think, okay, well, it's only like 50 cents more to buy the brand as opposed to the knockoff. In this instance, I think I'll go with the brand. We make those decisions every single day. A good example would be like ibuprofen or something like that. You go to CVS, you're like, do I want to pay for Advil or do I want to buy the CVS brand? And I always read the ingredients. Like for me, I'll dig into the brand. And I almost always will pick the brand. Unless it's not important. Unless it's not an important decision. If it's not an important decision, like I don't know, a beverage.
Like your health or your teeth or your business or your car or, these things aren't really important. But so you think that a brand and let's take a step back. So you talked about brands as not just a logo. Describe a little bit more about what goes into a real brand to make it seem like it's all encompassing.
Well, a brand has a story, right? Oh. So every brand has a story, and every brand has an archetype of sorts or a combination of archetypes that basically communicates the personality of that brand. And your brand archetype and knowing your brand archetype.
Okay, wait a minute, hang on. What's an archetype?
An archetype, this is a concept that was created by Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, basically to explain the personality of a brand, what it is, how it is, who it is, right? And so if you don't really understand who you are as a business, what your core brand values are, your mission statement, vision statement, et cetera, if you don't really understand who your brand is, it's going to be really hard to communicate that to others. And we do a very extensive piece on the front end where we help you figure out what your brand archetype is or what combination of personalities are incorporated into your branding. Now, once we figure that out, we have, for example, a list of words, right, that communicate what that personality sounds like. And then if we took it a step further and we said, okay, what is the brand archetype or the personality of your target market or your ideal client or your ideal avatar, right? What words are they going to respond to? So that's your story. So you want to make sure that when you're speaking to your target market, you're speaking from your core brand values, from your personality, your brand story, your brand archetype, and that you understand the personality, story, archetype of those you're speaking to and what they will respond to.
Wow. So it goes so much deeper than just a logo or a color scheme. So I know that by the research that it sounds like we would do in a brand strategy is to find out who I'm trying to talk to, right? So if I'm talking to housewives sitting at home with their babies, just as a wild example, if I'm speaking to them, then I'm going to want to know what words and phrases that's going to be attractive to them and things that are going to be able to cause them to want to say, yes, I want that. Is that accurate?
Yes, totally accurate.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. It has a lot to do with that call to action piece, right? We're asking them to do something. Sign up for my complimentary gift, or sign up for a complimentary session with me, or come to my workshop or my event, etc. But if you're not paying attention to the words that they would actually respond to, they're going to scroll right over it. You actually have about 7 seconds to grab their attention.
Wow.
So in our oversaturated world that we live in, and everybody is overstimulated all day, every day, on social media, for example, or in any of your marketing efforts, you have about 7 seconds to break through the noise and grab their attention.
And you would do that by branding, right?
Truly, because at a glance, when I said to you Kleenex and Coca-Cola, did you picture their logos real quick?
Yes, I did. I pictured the box and the stuff coming out that we have almost verbed the word tissue into Kleenex, and
right.
we've verbed the word Coke into soda. Or,
right.
Yeah.
Or think about popsicle, right? I mean, so many of them, Band-Aid. Right?
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
It is. It's fascinating.
So how long does it take for that process to come out? So if you were branding my company as an example, as Bella Financial Group, we go through all the investigation phase, I guess, research phase, and then we'd research my potential clients. And I mean, what kind of steps does it take to really come up with a brand?
Well, we have our program is a whole year. So when we bring a client in, we ask them to allow an entire year. Now, it doesn't take a year for the graphic design, but sometimes it will take 6-8 weeks, sometimes 90 days for the strategy part the deep dive that we do on the front end. Then once we're really clear on what this business stands for, what this company is trying to communicate, then our graphic design team will go to work and start developing the core brand. Now, the core brand will dictate the look and feel of everything else. So we always start with the logo, because the logo will dictate the fonts that are used and the color palettes, et cetera, throughout the website, et cetera. Website, landing page, workbooks, PowerPoint presentations, everything you do at that point, the logo will dictate that. So we start there, and then we spend the rest of the year creating those associated assets that give you the consistency in the marketplace to really let your brand shine, so that at a glance, in 7 seconds or less, somebody sees your program being advertised, or your product or your service, and they go, "Oh, that's a trusted brand." Click.
Wow. I like that. So it seems like it's so much more than, like you said, just a logo. So when we're talking about detailing, and you had explained a little bit there, what beyond? I guess what I want to figure out is, I'm not a Coca-Cola can, and I'm not a Kleenex, but I'm a chiropractor. And so therefore I'm working with my clients. I've got a shingle out on the door. Maybe I do some little bit of advertising. I've got a logo. I guess as I'm starting to learn from you, when I walk into, or when people come into my office, I want that similar feel, right?
Sure.
And when I put my marketing out in the newspaper or the phone book or Yelp or social media, I want it all to be consistent and following through, correct?
Yes, and identifiable. We do a lot of work with personality brands, coaches, authors, speakers, medical practitioners. And what's important, a lot of people think of their logo as an afterthought, and they might pull some stock imagery, for example, off the internet, a bird flying over the ocean, and then that's their shingle. All right. They put their name right underneath it, Dr. Steve, and there's the ocean and a bird, because they like oceans and birds. where they haven't really done the background, and it doesn't really make them stand out because there's only about 3 million logos out there with an ocean and bird, right? So how are you going to stand out in a saturated marketplace? And how can you make sure that your branding really communicates visually who you are and the type of services that you provide? It's really tricky, and it's a deep dive. And honestly, if you don't do that in the beginning, you're probably going to end up changing your logo, or you're not going to attract the market that you're looking for.
Interesting. So talk to me about how you got started in this branding world.
Oh, goodness. Well, I have a master's degree, believe it or not, in packaging design, branding, corporate identity. And I taught at the college level for 17 years, teaching.
Oh, when did you start? When you were 12, my dear?
Yeah, I was 12. I was a child prodigy.
Yeah.
But I taught international marketing. I taught small business management. I taught corporate identity, branding, typography, packaging design. I actually wrote the packaging design curriculum for the online, for the Art Institute online packaging program. And so I did that for just a minute. And this is my fourth successful business that I've owned in my lifetime. So prior to teaching, I was an entrepreneur. I joke that I was an entrepreneur since birth. Like I flew out of the womb, like ready to get busy. But
didn't we all? I mean, we all, it's so funny that you say that, because so many business owners and entrepreneurs, they just know that that this is the path that they're going to be on. And nobody does it once and is perfect with it and just runs with it. It's like many of us are serial, and we've had several companies and different paths because we just know that that's what we have to do for our gift and our business. Is we can't work for the man. And so we're stupid enough or smart enough, to become business owners and go forward. But it's funny that you say that as well. And it sounds like your credentials. I mean, you know what you're talking about.
Truly. I actually never thought of myself being an employee. I think the only reason I stayed as long as I did with the Art Institutes was because it was an online position. I really, really felt like I was giving back. And it was a very rewarding job. But what I didn't know at the time was that it was preparing me for something grand, which is owning this branding agency. And one of the things I think that makes us really unique is that piece, that history, her story of mine, which is that
I caught that, her story of yours.
You get that?
I got that little slip of the tongue.
So what I did, I hired a coach when I first started. And one of the best things that she ever said to me was, she said to me, Wendy, you were a college professor teaching design and corporate identity for 17 years. And I said, yes. And she said, you have your finger on the pulse of the creative community. Go get them. And I went, and that's really how BARRCODE branding started, because I went out and I recruited the faculty members that were also laid off like I was, right? And I brought them in to help me start the business. And then we put our heads together and we recruited the cream of the crop students that had graduated from our programs and were out there as professional designers. We brought them in. So I know our design team intimately. So I do a really thorough assessment when I bring a new client in, and I match the client's business model with that designer's unique style to make sure it's synergistic. So it's always a very intimate setting. So it's not, we're not a logo factory by any means. It's
right, because you can go on
personal.
you can go online and get a logo for $10 to $30 or $40, and it's just a couple of canned pieces that somebody, an art guy says, okay, so here's 12 basic, symbols, and we'll just insert your name in each one of them. I did that myself before I found my logo, and it was like, holy cow, this really didn't represent anything that I wanted. And so then I ended up having a graphic designer friend do mine. But honestly, I thought, okay, well, I liked blues and silver, and so that's what we went with. It had nothing to do really with any of the research I should have done when I started to make the brand be something that had more attractive natures and features.
No, not necessarily. I think that blue is a great color for financial. I really do. And it's very.
So I got lucky.
Yeah, you did. Blue's a good color for financial. For example, blue's not a good color for food. Blue is the least appetizing color in the color palette, unless you are cold beer or ice cream.
Or money. Cold beer or ice cream.
Then blue's a good color. Otherwise, yeah. So
that's funny.
Tell people. So if you're trying to lose weight, paint your kitchen blue, right?
Right. I never want to eat again. I'm going to go do that right now. Oh my gosh. So Wendy, you have such wealth of knowledge. It's clear you have the expertise and the experience to give us this information. So I really value this. Do you have any tips that a small business owner, ideally in the service-based business world, could use now that maybe they didn't know before?
Sure, absolutely. Along those lines, when it comes to color, for example, color's one of the most powerful pieces of any brand. And when it comes to color, color is essential in conveying the look and feel of your brand. I mean, think about it. In kindergarten, right? Everyone wants to have the biggest box of crayons. At least I did.
Okay.
And color can be very effective in influencing thinking and reactions, like we just discussed with the color blue being the least appetizing color in the color palette. Color can even stimulate bodily hormones. And so you really want to, you can Google it. Any of your viewers can Google the psychology of color in branding. And when you're trying to make the decision about your own branding, you can do that yourself.
Interesting. Okay. So color's a good part. What else?
So color is one. Two, fonts, right?
Fonts.
So fonts there's a rule. Here's my rule when it comes to typography or fonts. 2's company and 3 is a crowd. Never use more than 2 fonts within your formal branding, period. End of story. The first and primary font can be a decorative font, right? Swirly, twirly, that's your decorative font. And then the second font is like your supporting font, right? So that one has to be a clean serif or sans serif, completely readable. I call it the Lucy and Ethel method, right? Lucy is the star of the show and should never be upstaged by Ethel.
Okay, fair enough. And so is Lucy the loosey goosey, the swirly stuff, and then Ethel is the solid color? Okay, I got it. So well, that's great because.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say my logo is 2 diamonds superimposed over each other with a swirly bee in the middle, and then I've got my Bella Financial Group written out. So I guess my graphic designer did okay on that.
Yeah. Oh, I like your logo a lot. I think your logo is really beautiful, quite effective. Indeed.
Thank you. Okay, so we got logo, we got colors, we've got fonts, and Lucy and Ethel.
Right. Here's a side tip about Lucy and Ethel. Did you know that in Ethel's contract that she signed, she had to be 25 pounds overweight at all times so that she didn't upstage Lucy ever.
Wow.
I know. So that's why
a killer of a friend, right? Here, my dearest friend, and I'm going to work with you for years, and you've got to be 25 pounds overweight. That's horrible.
Right. Well, the good news is she got to eat anything she wanted.
That's true. She didn't paint her kitchen blue, right?
So the third tip is imagery. Use imagery sparingly and never use stock images or clip art within your formal logo. Hence what we just discussed about the ocean and the bird, right? So
that makes sense.
There's really no need to be too literal, right? And if your logo requires a simple icon of sorts, then a professional agency will create custom art just for you. Think about like the Nike swish or the two simple circles that create the Target logo, right?
Right.
Simple, clean, because simple and clean is contemporary.
I like it.
Just because you like dogs, but you have a dental practice doesn't necessarily mean that you should have a dog in your logo, or you like fishing and you're an accountant, right? So although fishing can be there's some great marketing material associated with fishing, but you don't need to be that literal.
Okay. And then in your logo, I mean, that doesn't mean you want to have personality in it, but it doesn't have to be completely your personality. I mean, your personal personality. It wants to be your business's personality.
Nailed it.
Great.
You're a good
Wendy,
student.
I'm a good student. We've been sitting together for so long. This is amazing. But I've learned so much today. This
Yay.
is so great. And thank you so much for this. So how can my listeners find out more about you? Because you clearly have what it takes to put a business on the map so that they can separate themselves from the hundreds of thousands, or even millions of competitors that we may have out there. How could someone find out more about your services?
Truly. Well, you can look for us online, barcodebranding.com. And remember, barcode has 2 R's, like my last name, right? Mm-hmm. Barcode Branding. We do a complimentary brand assessment for anybody, especially any of your viewers or listeners that are interested. And you can go to barcodebranding.com/profit booster. We call it the Profit Booster Brand Assessment. And you just go in there, sign up, and you'll receive a calendar link so that you can have a one-on-one brand assessment where we'll look at some of your branded assets and kind of help you determine if you're on the right path, or maybe it just needs a little bit of adjustment, or maybe you need to consider rebranding completely.
Wow, that is so valuable. And what's the time commitment if I do that Profit Builder?
The Profit Booster. So the Profit Booster, that if you sign up, you'll get a series of emails. There's a video, right, that gives you a little bit of education, and almost immediately you get a calendar link, because I like to jump on a Zoom call and share my screen and open up your website and open up your Facebook and LinkedIn profiles and anything else, your landing pages, anything else that you have as far as branded assets go, and have a conversation with you about it.
Well, that's cool. I think that's so important otherwise you're just one of those internet companies that will just mass produce something. You've got to see what I've got in my personality. So I love that.
Truly.
Thank you so very much for providing that. And we'll have this information on the podcast information piece that we put out that'll tell you what's going on with the podcast. Wendy's information will be tagged in there as well. So thank you so much, Wendy, for listening or for participating today, and to our listeners for listening. I hope you have found an idea or two to put into your business that will give you more control over your money and make you more profitable. If you'd like to know specifically how to increase your own profits in your business, you can chat with Wendy and I on our appointment calendars. Again, Wendy will be on the posted on the information on this, or you can always hit up my Calendly at Marcia-16. So next week, Wendy, I have a really special gal coming on. I think you know Rosie Aiello. She has created this amazing day, and this is my give back to the community. She is talking about National Love is Kind Day. It's on July 27th, and she'll be on our show next week to talk about it. So I'm really excited about having her on. She's amazing, and she's got such a great idea. And then also a little bit of updates on calendars. I am having a very special event coming up on July 24th here in SoCal, and I'll be speaking on women, money, and stress. And I know you've all heard my money and stress bit, but this is even more impactful. And the participants will learn some great tips on how to gain control over their money so they can make really confident financial decisions. The invitation to this workshop, it's dirt cheap. It's like $26, so it's not even it's a couple of coffees that you spend. Will be attached again on this podcast, or you can go hit up my Facebook page at Bella Financial Group. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I would love to hear any questions, feedback, ideas for future shows. You can hit up Wendy at barcodebranding.com, or you can hit up me at bellafinancialgroup.com, or any of my social channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Bella Financial or Marcia Reiner. And then don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. If you do, you'll get my 3 hidden secrets to cash flow right now that you'll find. It's a great little tip. And then we hope that you'll catch Profit with a Plan podcast on any of your favorite players. And we're so looking forward to more profitable information on next week's show. And until then, make your plans and profit with it. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank